Welcome back to the second installment of In the Wheat. Just an orientation at the beginning. Back in 1990, I wrote a book called In the Wheat, a book of poems. It makes the basis of this video, and the poems appear, and I give a running commentary as to what was going on in my life in those days in the seminary. Now, we're following these boys as they start off in the first months of life in the seminary, and they begin to notice that something is happening to them. We boys settled into seminary life as if it was nothing really different. But in reality, it was a very, very different life, and we took it up with an ease and flexibility that makes me ask today how all that was possible. Wasn't there some kind of struggle within me? No, there was no struggle, as best I know now. I accepted this as part of the package, as part of what I had to do to become a priest. We accepted what was hard. We were already becoming ascetics and thinking that what was difficult was pleasing to God. I think God played a great role in my life in those days as a boy. That's what made me decide to become a priest and to be close to Him. Priest meant altar. Priest meant being close to God, not in knowing, but in feeling close to Him. That is why the chapel took on such an enormous meaning for me. The chapel was always the place where I could find God, and my unshakable belief in the idea of the Eucharist, that God is present on the altar. It consoled me. It helped me in those days as it did in later days. This feeling had a strong effect on us. It made us feel confident, made us feel strong, and proud to be in His service.
You woke us from our lethargy, fired us with energy, and drove us beyond every stone of recognition to a garden of intimacy, with apples from every tree.
Did we somehow have the feeling that we were in a paradise of sorts?
You were so overwhelming for the lot of us. that we lost interest in algebra and Greek, and would have fled to darkened chapels, to dance in panting prayer around your altars, like minstrels, clowns, or troubadours.
Those were strong inner feelings that came up and had to be coped with. One felt as if one were in love with God. But how? How? He never talked much about being in love with God. They talked about imitating Jesus, about changing our lives into His. But how should we love God? We had no idea who He was. Was He a person? Was He somebody who might appear? We didn't know. And we had to learn to live with the mystery, with not knowing. That's what we learned back in the church as a boy, learning to accept the idea that He was close. And that closeness was enough. We were now living in a sphere where everything was regulated. Every moment of the day was accounted for. We knew where we had to be. We knew what we had to do. Everything was regulated. Even our prayers were regulated. We were supposed to use our directory, certain prayers that the community recommended, and the Roman Missal, which had all of the Masses for each day of the year. And we were to model our prayer life on the prayers we found there.
This is the missal we used for the daily Mass. Latin on the left column and English on the right. We loved this book. It told us about the Bible and the life of Jesus. It presented to us the saint of the day and was a remarkable source of information.
We had to speak to you from black prayer books, thumb marked with use, but secretly pursued other wordless ways, like kneeling without moving, or sitting with hand to head, musing, or watching a stained glass window kindle with morning light.
We would let ourselves fall, winning your presence, and felt you catch us, without questioning, like a basin welcoming water. But we knew. The formal usage. Frown on that.
In our minds there was no doubt that you were near. Can you remember us? Cascading down long slopes and laughing, knowing that you were waiting down at the water's edge, on the path, to catch us.
We felt light-headed with these new feelings. Everything seemed to come so light. so easy. Understanding something in the classroom, catching a ball on the field, swinging a bat, walking at a fast pace. Everything seemed new.
We were taught to walk slowly and sit erect, with hands resting lightly on our thighs, just behind the knees. And not one of us ever thought of asking why that had to be.
No, we didn't ask why. Rather, we had to learn to obey. And so, we would set out each day on our scheduled life, rising at 20 minutes past 5, and answering to the boy who rang that bell so loud, "Let us praise the Lord," we would answer, "We praise the Lord with you." And our day would begin by rushing down to the washroom, throwing water on our face, and being ready to appear at 5:45 in the study hall for meditation. A priest would come, giving us a thought for the day, something that we should carry out, think about, and carry in our minds throughout the day. At exactly 6:10, the morning Mass would take place, and we would all go to chapel, of course, and hear the Mass, and after that, not leave immediately, but stay in our pews and have a Thanksgiving of probably 10 to 15 minutes.
We never asked ourselves if we believed it was you whom we held in bread on our tongues for those 10 brief moments of ecstatic oneness.
Here again, how great the influence of the Eucharist was. It was something that carried us into and through the day, this feeling of closeness in the bread, in the Holy Eucharist, God close by. Now when the bell rang at 7 minutes to 7, we would get up, leave the chapel, rush down the stairs, over to the flight of stairs leading up to the dormitory, and make our beds. We had 7 minutes to do that, because at 7 o'clock we would find ourselves gathering in the refectory for breakfast.